Hi, it's Bo here. I want to check in with you. It's good to see your face. I'm glad that you are hanging in there, and I hope you're getting a lot of value out of this course so far. Okay, we are wrapping up Module 1. I want to close this module by sharing some tips and tools with you that you can use to not only map out your client's parts, but also possibly introduce parts work to them early on in treatment. I love this one. Okay, I love this one. I actually spoke with the creator of this, and he's a really David Cantor, a really nice gentleman. He created this thing called the universe, and what it is basically consists of these little magnetic balls that you could take off the ring here. Okay. And each ring would represent a part. Okay, so the outer ring would represent exiles, the inner ring would represent firefighters, and then the most inner ring would represent managers. And this, of course, is the self, right? So you have clients, and there's these balls that come with them, and there's a whole box of balls. Some of them have faces on them, some of them don't. Obviously, they're all color. So you can have a client, right? You can say, hey, let's go ahead and look at some of these parts that you just shared with me, right? So if I'm doing this with a client early on in treatment, and we're not really, or he or she's not familiar with parts work yet as much, I might, pull out their assessment or my notes from when we were doing our initial session, and I might say, hey, you mentioned that you have this very anxious part, right? You get anxious because you're afraid that you don't want to look at some of these trauma memories, right? I'm just using that as an example, right? So you might have a client, you might tell a client, these in IFS, we would consider that as like manager parts of us. These parts are trying to protect us, right? So we might want to put that right here, right? So it explains it. This is the manager part. Or you can have the client pick the ball and put it where they want to put it. Right? This is always revealing as well. It's a really good way to get them involved, and it's interactive. It's visual. A lot of clients love this. And then you might say, well, sometimes you can't avoid the trauma memories. Which, by the way, this is what these trauma memories get exiled. These are parts of us that get suppressed, right? So they're furthest away from our psyche. But sometimes somebody triggers something or says something that's going to do something that will trigger this. And that's when these other parts come out, which are called firefighters. Right? These are very reactive parts of us. Right? So you see, our whole system is set up in a way to try to protect us. Right? We have these parts that try to be productive and try to manage our life, to try to keep these parts from coming out. But when these parts do come out, that's when the anger comes out, and the drug use and the pornography use and all these, other parts can come out, right? So I might use this in the very beginning to help clients see their parts, to map out their parts, right? Especially visual clients. This is really good for visual clients. I'll use it to help them interact, to get involved, and obviously, like I said earlier, to help them to see where they're going to put their parts, right? I'll just kind of leave it open and see where they put things, and it's interesting. This is an interesting piece here. I will find that they will put certain parts together as in allies together, apart from other parts in the system that they might put on the other end of a spectrum, right? So managers and firefighters might go together. Managers might go together. They might have an inner critic, right? That they identify with towards other parts, right? So this is a good tool. I've used this with a wide range of clients. I've used this with veterans. I've used this with guys who don't normally talk about their feelings and don't normally do any of this, and I would probably say that 9 out of 10 times this has worked, right? This has worked. In fact, clients will actually refer back to this months later when we're doing the work. They would say, hey, remember that you know, that black ball, they usually put, sometimes a black ball is the exile, right? These are feelings we don't like to feel. But remember that black ball, well, he's somewhere else now, or he's a different color now, right? So again, it's called the universe, Y-O-U-N-I-V-E-R-S-E. Okay, and one more thing I wanna explain to you as it relates to EMDR is that when we are, technically when we're doing EMDR, you know, that later on, and we're doing the assessment desensitization phases, when we're doing that, technically what we're doing is we're processing memories, right? When we're targeting memories, we're targeting the memories of this part, okay? Just want you to know that, okay? Technically what we're doing is we're targeting the memories of the exile, okay? So early in phases 1 and 2, when we're educating them and we're talking about what EMDR is, we can use this, right? So we're processing the memories of the exile, or this part, and how do you feel about that? Well, I'm concerned about that. Well, that's something that one of these parts would say. That's something a manager would say, right? So you can identify that. You can name that, right? Once these parts feel better or more safe, which I'm going to talk about in this course, how to get these parts on board, because sometimes they don't want you to go there. They have legitimate fears, right? So instead of pushing past these parts and going here, which is what maybe we've done sometimes in the past when that doesn't work, what we're doing in this whole course is we're turning our attention to these parts. So maybe initially, before IFS, our focus was on this part, and what I'm suggesting is focus on these parts. Focus on these parts first, so this goes a little bit better, okay? What happens when you go there? Sometimes when you go to these memories, like in an EMDR session, and a client totally checks out, right? You're doing this, it seems to be going well, but they just check out. That was this. That was a part that has come in, right? That was a firefighter that said, we're done. We're not doing this anymore. Okay? Looping. When a client is looping, it means that there's still some self-energy, but a part, a protector has come in with a concern, right? Again, I'm going to show you how to deal with all of that in this course, right? But I love this. I just wanted to highlight that for you, and maybe this is actually helping you right now to see what you've been doing all this time with EMDR is we're focusing on memories, right? Now, in IFS, we're focusing on parts that hold all kind of memories. That's a whole nother discussion. But I'm just going to keep it simple that these are the memories we're focusing on. When a client can't go there, it's probably because of one of these. And they're afraid of that, or maybe they're afraid of other parts. Firefighters, if we get overwhelmed again, she's going to start cutting herself. And these other parts are going to take over, right? So these are the members we're focused on. These are the parts that have good reasons for keeping the client safe. And sometimes in the session or after the session, if they have a reaction, a very strong reaction to something, you know, we know now that these are some parts here, right? So I just wanted to highlight that. I hope it makes sense. Let's go on to the next one.